This is just a book that I've been reading. My buddy Kevin gave it to me. It's all the 70s New God stuff that Don Newton drew. I had a few of these issues, like that great vintage Jim Starlin. I had a few of these issues, but not like all of them. I read the first issue special that Vaz drew, and I enjoyed it. But this is a series that was not, in the post Kirby world, it was not well received. I have this issue, but yeah, I've been enjoying it. Um, it's interesting reading Jerry Conway's voice with the Kirby characters instead of the usual Marvel fare. Um, this was something I drew earlier this week. Figured I'd just show it off. Just a quick pinup that I did for fun. But this is just something I've been noodling on. I figured I'd work on it more on the stream tonight. I know it's a little tougher to see. So let's see if we can get it to where people can see it a little better. I'm trying to add more bend to some of my stuff lately. Really trying to give it just a little bit more, zip to the motion and a little bit more cartooning underneath it. Not trying to get, worrying about straight lines or having to have like pure accuracy, because I find stuff that gets stiff to be so much more boring than stuff that's, maybe not necessarily drawn right, but has the excitement behind it. I was actually talking to Bart Sears briefly at Colorado Springs Comic Con, and some of my favorite work of his is when he actually went a little looser, like with Warlord, and he did a little bit of stuff for, was it Swamp God for Heavy Metal? No, he didn't do Swamp God. He had his own book in Heavy Metal that they did recently, but again, it was a little bit looser, had a little more zip to it, which I liked quite a bit. Not that his old stuff wasn't, well executed. I just found it more exciting as a reader. Yeah, I started noodling on this my lunch break the other day. I figured I'd just keep working on it. My plan is to basically just like keep adding characters. He's holding the capes because you can't really do a solid wrap around here. So he's holding the cape, and the cape will be covering part of his hand and come over here. Then I'll add, faces of different, Gotham City characters, and I'd like to add like the bat signal. We put that there. So that's the plan. We'll see if I can make it work. Hope everybody's doing okay tonight. So what's everybody reading lately? Any good comics I need to check out? Some days it's tough to talk about things as frivolous as comics can be, but buddy Crick draws a great Batman. It's always got a lot of motion to it, good volume. Uh, friend of mine that I don't think I've only seen him draw Batman a couple of times, who I'd love to see him get a shot at one of the books is Ray Height. He has really good movement, but he's been I don't know if he's exclusive to Marvel or if he's been primarily just doing Marvel stuff, but um, the question is, how am I going to get his hand in front of this for the blue? I got to be honest, I've never been like a gigantic Batman fan as far as the comic books go. Like I'll follow some of my favorite writers and artists, to any book, but I won't pick it up monthly unless there's something I'm looking forward to. I've really enjoyed reading back issues of Brave and the Bold, the Jim Aparo issues, or the Nick Cardy issues, or the Neil Adams issues. But Brave and the Bold's been a lot of fun. There's a couple of great Swamp Thing crossovers in there. To even just a little bit of bend to the leg, the lower leg, it just gives it just a little bit more movement to it. You can see the leg comes around like this, and then this one comes forward, and then has like a down with the knee, and then a bend in. Hope everybody had a nice dinner, or is, depending on what time zone you're in, if you're getting home from work or heading home from work at this point. I did post some time lapses. The Tick one was fun with the surf rock music. That was fun. I've got one more. I've got that Ninja Turtles one that I did, and then I have to finish actually a couple of drawings from prior live streams that I have to have the final product before I can make the time lapse. I've got to finish that Scarlet Huntress piece for my pals in Ohio. When I think of Batman, the Batman in my head that I see is not the Batman that I draw. So it's like it's tough for me to look at whatever comes out of my head and on the paper and say that it looks like Batman, even though I have drawn Batman, on a DC cover. So DC and IDW, but it's still got the DC logo on there. So, let's see. We can start moving out of this. Who are some of my favorite Batman artists? I would say, I put just great artists on the list like Toth, Kevin Nolan, um, Jim Aparo. I've come to really appreciate Norm Brayfogel's work. He was on Detective when I was a kid. Kelly Jones, obviously Neil Adams, Mazzucchelli. I like Mazzucchelli's Batman more than I like Frank Miller's Batman, and I say that knowing full well that without the Frank Miller Batman, there is no Mazzucchelli Batman. I just think it's more elegant. I mean, if you look at Batman Black and White, you can see, some of the best to ever do it in that series from DC. The original one, not the recent redo. Because they had like Mobius, they had, I think there's a Toriyama story in there. Hey, Daryl, good to see you again, man. Yeah, I dug that Galactus piece. That was cool. It was gigantic. An underrated Klaus Janson, I would say, is really underrated as a Batman artist on his own right. I know he's most well known for doing the inks over Frank Miller, but he did the Gothic story at the beginning of Legends of the Dark Knight. I thought that was a very cool story. But there's just so many great artists. Like they put expensive artists on Batman because it yields the sales. Like they've had Bernie Wrightson do Batman. They've had, you know, obviously Jim Lee did Batman. They can afford to put people with like the highest page rates in the industry on Batman. Because even to this day, with the numbers being what they are, which are far lower than they used to be for a number of factors, they can still afford to pay big name artists to work on Batman. Big name writers, big name artists. Hey Desiree, good to see you. How are things out on the left coast out there? Things are okay out on the right coast over here. They're warm, but it's not too bad. Went for my usual run today, so that sounds rough. Sorry to hear that. Oh, we'll see how far we can get. Like I like drawing like the different faces, and it doesn't take me all that long. But getting the full figure in there so that it looks solid is, you know, the goal tonight. Well, I bet they have. They'll probably trot out, like a whole bunch of extra icy carts, like like at the movie theater, you can get a giant frozen beverage of some kind. It'll just be on the website. I've been putting stuff on the website more and more, just because I don't have a show for a little while. I don't have to if they sell beforehand, I have time to replace them. The next thing I have lined up, I'm trying to get a table at Baltimore, but the only thing I have booked right now is Rhode Island in November. I'm actually going to be taking a week off for the first time since like the beginning of COVID in September, which I'm very much looking forward to. Going on a little bit of a little vacation, little fall vacation. It's my first real time off that's not like work related. Ice cream, yes, that sounds like a plan. I was just saying, uh, I could go for ice cream tonight, but we don't have any. I'm still waiting to get paid for some work I've done, which is not fun. It's not fun. One thing that I learned on these color like toned sketch covers is that you can't white out mistakes. So we have to try to not be perfect, but not have any like crazy eyesores. His torso is a little small. I agree, but it was partly the angle I was going for. So we'll see if it works or not. So we can always just throw it out. That's the beauty. I would say if someone went dumpster diving near my apartment, they probably found about a half dozen sketch covers last week that I was not happy with. So they got the boot. Yeah, I probably throw out about 20% of my work. Um, oh, you don't have to break in. I take it to the curb on what is it? The trash day is Tuesday. Just hop into the recycling bin. It's right there. If you want one of the crappy sketch covers that I just don't think we're even ever going to sell. I was surprised that that Sandman one didn't sell at the convention. I really was. But that's how it goes sometimes. But no, I still don't do prints. I don't do unlicensed prints. If I don't own the character, I don't make prints out of it. So, or if I don't get permission, and I actually have gotten permission from some folks, which is very nice because I'm working on, I would like to put out an art book with an ISBN and everything, and I've gotten permission from some of the license holders of some of the work I've done. So yeah, there was like a Logan smoking a cigar that I don't think came out very well. There was a what were the other ones? Some of them were on sketch covers that were really unforgiving, like they were really slick. So I still tried to make them work, but when I looked at them after the fact, they just weren't professional. This one in particular does okay. The DC ones do okay, but I find the Marvel ones are hit or miss. Um, I had to do a sketch on like a Venom one, and it was just terrible. It was horrendous. And then there was a Carnage one that was all red, and it just did not want to like. It just sat on top of it. So like I had to do a couple lines and then let it dry, and then a couple lines and then let it dry, and even still, like it just didn't look right. And I've actually, when that happens, it will bug me for days. Like I will think about like, oh, if I get hit with one of these again at a show, like how do I make it work? And there are some artists who actually just have a list of sketch covers they refuse to draw on. I know that Brian Stelfreeze has a list of covers he refuses to paint or draw on. Like if someone tries to bring a sketch cover up to him, it has to be like ones that he wants to use. It'd be nice to reach that stature where you can be like, nah, I don't think I'll draw on that for your money. I have warned people when they brought crappy ones, like One that I get hit with all the time is the TMNT Batman one, the IDW one. There's a reason it's the only Ninja Turtles sketch cover on eBay under like 30 bucks. And then I run into that conundrum, like, do I um, charge the amount of money for the sketch cover of what it's currently going for, even though I got it for, a few bucks back in the day, plus the cost of the original? I don't know. I will say, Douglas, that I just got an email from CBCS. Those books that I had graded in Colorado are already on their way here. So um, the expedited shipping for the fancy creator account seems to be spot on. Yeah, I guess you have more chutzpah than I do when it comes to that. I've definitely given them like just so you know, this is a crappy sketch cover and it doesn't take drawing very well. Especially like the early Marvel and early Dynamite ones that for some reason people still like. There's a Captain America one that's pretty horrendous. It's like the death of Captain America. Horrendous. I don't know how else to describe it. And then there was a Red Sonja one that someone handed to me at a convention that was literally just the glossy cover stock with nothing on it. And it must have been like the first one they ever did, because it was just like I was holding it and I basically told him like I have to do like a quick I have to do Sharpie on this because it will not take any sort of ink pen or brush that I normally use. And they were like, "Oh yeah, go for it." It's like, okay, and then it's just miserable. I'll just struggle with it. Yeah, it's true. I've definitely felt like I should buy their sketch cover from them after I've ruined it. There was one that I did on an Evil Ernie, or Evil Ernie. Was that the name of the chaos character? Yes, yes, the one that had Lady Death. Um, but it was a Dynamite cover, and I must have spent 4 hours on this thing, and it ended up being just all Sharpie, like those tiny little Sharpies. And it took me forever to do, but I still like it had such a stiff line because I was so attentive going around the whole thing. I was just like, oh, this is terrible. Acrylic paint might work. I've actually wondered if you put down Jezzo or something, but like again, like that's just so much work. And to be honest, like maybe your original self for enough to where it warrants all the time and everything. So I just know that within my price range, like I would just be throwing hours in a hole. One thing I am getting better at is just drawing in the brush after. Treating it more like paint. Hey, go for it, man. I think the hair dryer, if that's the one thing I can get people to start using more for their painting and stuff. There was another fellow who was doing a painting with spray bottles and stuff, and it was really cool. But I noticed that he was going back to work in it, and he was smudging it some. So I suggested the hair dryer. It was a cool piece, you know. I got another one. Yeah. I will say on the tone, this specifically this one, this blue, it takes the inkwell, and I can erase on it without taking off all the toner. I don't know if it's differently printed, if this is an offset situation, because most of the like sketch covers I notice are printed digitally. So I'm actually able to, or you can, if you ever wonder when you're doing a sketch cover, what you can do is you can take either an electric eraser, like this is toner, you can tell by like the shade. You can take an electric eraser and actually just pull off the toner all the way down to the white. So like if you have a character's hand in front of like a logo or something, instead of using whiteout, you can use an electric eraser and just buzz it out of there. But I was surprised that this erased well because, like, I had to do 50 sketch covers for that mystery box that I participated in, and some of them just like if you erase it all, like the color just comes right up and you can't replace it. But yeah, you can see like even just erasing on top of the ink's not coming off at all, which is great. If you use mechanical pencils like me, there's not much you can do about where it like puts impressions into the paper. But as far as like the ink itself, it is very forgiving, surprisingly forgiving. That's the sort of thing I always use a template on. Yeah, I was thinking about putting Gordon here, Bullock, Alfred, like his family. I was going to put on this side. Robin. I wasn't sure if I was going to put. I think I would go with Barbara Gordon here, so Batgirl here, since you got Jim Gordon here, and then on the back, I was going to put all the villains' faces here. The old floating head motif from old comic readers. Because I showed you guys my sketchbook pages. I posted those, and one of the things that I do is I'll just work on just drawing heads. It's one of the things that I actually really enjoy doing. Yeah, put Barbara right there. I wanted to draw different types of faces. So like Alfred has a different face than like kind of the round faced Bullock, and then like Jim Gordon. I it's one of the things I get bored drawing like the main characters of superhero stuff because like they're not they all look so similar a lot of the time. Like the square jaw, handsome. You know, I like people who have interesting features. That's who I like to draw. It's like that book Caricature from Dan Klaus. Let's see something real quick. It's no better without the light. He's he's grabbing the rope, so like it's got the knuckles can't line up perfectly straight because it's not there's no object like that he's holding, because when you're holding it like a bat or something, the knuckles line up, but when you're having something that doesn't have volume like there's an arch to it. And that's when I think about, the golden mean, when you have the scale as it comes down. I do think about that stuff when I'm drawing a lot, because it really creates a nice balance when it comes to the fluidity of form. And if he's holding a rope, like maybe the thumb would come down like that, be like this. Make sure we get the inside of those fingers. There we go. If I wasn't on a stream, I would take a picture of my hand and look at it that way. Oh, you didn't know? That's very cool. I love Jim Starlin's work. I'm a huge fan of his, especially his crazy '70s comics, and the book. I actually didn't see his artwork first. The first thing I ever experienced with Starlin was his writing on Warlock and the Infinity Watch, and then I found the reprints of the old Warlock stuff, and then I found Dreadstar, and yeah, it was off to the races. The Metamorphosis Odyssey is still like one of those books where, if you want to talk about complex, like '70s, uh, dated, admittedly, but like sci-fi epics, that have a Kafka slant to them. So, what did you guys talk about? Did you talk about the Avengers stuff? Did you talk about his work on Captain Marvel? Was it a big retrospective? What did you guys get to chat about? That's super cool. If anyone was ever wondering why a lot of my characters' hands have like misdirected fingers, it's because they're based on my hands, and they are like all. I've in my lifetime I've broken every finger I have and every toe at some point or another, playing sports or on a boat, or mostly sports. Oh, cool! I will check it out. Thank you for posting the link. I'll check it out after the stream while I'm decompressing. I always liked Dreadstar. I found the Epic comics in the dollar bin. And look, I'm I wasn't a big fan of a lot of the writing changes that Peter David made, but like the artwork by Angel Medina was stellar. It was just fantastic because he had. I loved Angel's work for a long time. I won't tell anyone. No, of course not. Um, but yeah, Angel Medina had that really exaggerated style. Hold on, I might have an original right here. Ugh. Giant binder of artwork. There you go. There's a page from Warlock and the Infinity Watch #1. And this is the page where Adam still has the Infinity Gauntlet, and he snaps his fingers, and then he makes eternity disappear. But yeah, I mean, you look at the detail. This was inked by Terry Austin. You get in real close, and you can see what type of pens he was using. It looks like a fair amount of crow quill, but it also looks like a lot of like a lettering nib. One of those nibs that's shaped like this and has the little bump at the end, where the ink comes out. I see that like right here. There's like a little paste up where uh, Living Tribunal and the Watcher, Chaos, the Celestial. There's Galactus. There's the Stranger, Ego. I bought that when nobody cared about Warlock artwork. I have 2 pages of Warlock artwork, and that one I believe I paid $45 for. It might have been 35, but it was not $50 because I didn't have $50 when I bought that page. That's really where I switched my collecting to. Like, I don't buy expensive comics ever at all anymore. Not at all. I'm explicitly, when it comes to acquiring comics, a reader. And it's always like dollar bin comics. But yeah, artwork is what I save up for. We can do. I don't know. I don't know if that's probably not the biggest wow in that binder. But it's one of my favorites because I was an Adam Warlock junkie. I bought the complete run. Which body? What? The Eternity? Doug, you might have actually been at that the convention I bought that page at. Maybe. Um, it was the old Akron, Ohio comic book show. It was a small show. It was in a hotel lobby. It was the old school. What was his name? Harper, the guy that used to run the little shows like the Buckeye Comic Con and stuff in Ohio. And I saw that page just on the back wall behind someone's table. And I didn't know who the dealer was. I was there helping out Midyard Comics, where I got my start, helping out, doing backgrounds and slinging comics. And And it was a small, tiny show, and he ran like 4 or 5 other like Central Ohio, Northern Ohio shows. I don't even know if he's around anymore. I have no idea. But yeah, it was just on a guy's back wall, and it's like, hey, I know what that is because I love that book, and that's my number one piece of advice for people that want to get into collecting artwork is just know the books or know the artist, and you'll know what you're looking at. And when those opportunities come up where you can get a deal, like I got an Al Williamson inked page like that. I got an Adam Hughes Star Trek page like that. I got it was just knowing what it was and luck and but yeah, I don't collect pops. I don't collect a lot of stuff that other people really like and have fun doing, and go for it, man. That's the idea. I can't afford a lot of the fancy, expensive artwork they got floating around these days, and the prices on stuff has gone up. For like, if you're looking for the stuff that I was able to get back in the day, there's still great deals to be had. I bought a Bob Layton Iron Man page for $25 on eBay like a year ago. Um, I got an Al Milgram inked Joe Staten page for $25. Like again, eBay. Um, there's actually a $25 page I have bookmarked for when I have $25, and I have a bad day. That's my what do you call it? Retail therapy. I offered at one point to be a buyer for somebody, and I gave him a list of stuff that I knew where to get it and what it was and what it was worth, but he didn't want to invest in artwork at the time. So there's tons of modern artists who give you great deals on their pages. Absolutely, I completely agree with you. You snap them up. It's been my motto for a long time. If I see an artist whose work I like, and the page is like the cost of a trade paperback, and I have the money, I pick it up. I just pick it up. I think I bought that Warlock page around like the year 2002, 2001. Nobody cared about that series then at all. It's just now that he's getting stuck in the next Guardians movie that people are like, oh. And who knows if that appearance is going to help or hurt the value. Yeah, yeah. There's tons of artists whose work that I like that, they're not working on Marvel or DC yet, or they won't work on Marvel and DC ever, but they still make beautiful stuff. Hell, I was buying that's okay. My buddy Joe St. Pierre had pages that he'd been sitting on since his Valiant days when I first saw him. And he was selling them at shows for like $25, $35. And every couple of shows I'd see him at, I'd pick one up. You know, I've never seen him in anything, I don't believe. I want to see that. What is it? That show he did with Michael Keaton, but it looks very depressing uh, about the company that put out the pain medications. Dope sick? Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what it was. But it's weird, and like, in a James Gunn movie, like, who knows how people are they're gonna be like, "Oh, it's not like the Jim Starlin one, so we're not gonna," you know? Like, the first appearance of Gamora, the Strange Tales book, like, that was never $100 book. Like, that was a book you could always get for, like, $10 to $20, and when I was back buying, like, back issues, that was, like, that was an easy pickup for someone that didn't have, a gajillion dollars. But now I see it on back walls at every show I go to now. We're the Millers. I've never seen that. Midsommar is on my list. Definitely. See, this is where I get to have fun and I get to like look at like the shape of Jim Gordon's skull and make different like choices. I hate it when I'm looking at a comic book and all the characters have the same bone structure. They just look like they have like a cheap Halloween disguise on. I hate that, and we know artists who are guilty of that are phenomenally skilled, and I understand deadlines, but I find it distracting when Jim Gordon just looks like Bruce Wayne in disguise from back in the day. He should have a bit of a busted up nose, from brawling. He should have eye sockets that are a little bit sunken back from late nights, bags under his eyes. Sorry, I'm just getting my chair so I can sit down. Yeah, I'm gonna put all the villains' heads on the back. I'll probably have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on the front. I have no idea what to charge for something like this, so I'll just ballpark it. The good thing is I'll be able to draw like one head or two, like on a lunch break or when I'm waiting for something, and I'll just carry it around like I usually carry around my sketchbook. I do think another detail that gets lost a lot is that everybody gets like the perfectly square jaw. Very few people get like just, softened. And then the skull, like, here's the eye sockets, here's where, the bridge of the nose is, and then here's where the cheekbones are. So we got to raise that up just a little bit. I want it to look like a guy that's had a lot of late nights. And Jim Gordon, like, I know they've changed it, but I think of him as like a complete chain smoker, drinking coffee all day. The one youthful thing that he's kept is that he doesn't have like a big receding hairline yet. Yeah. And I know it sounds weird, but I like I like drawing stuff like that. It's a little different. He also strikes me as a guy who like wears a tie all the time still, but it like and this is another thing that like I talk you as an artist will get. He's not a full Windsor knot kind of guy. He's a half Windsor guy, you know, and it gets a little loose. It doesn't. He makes sure he has a little bubble there, but it's not complete. Shirt's a little wrinkled. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it is a delicate balance. Like I think as long as it's there to serve the storytelling or it enhances the character's expression, I'm 100% behind it. And there are some people who do it very subtly or with very few lines, like Mirka Andolfo's work. Like she'll have wonderfully exaggerated characters, but they'll have like these very subtle, daftly done details that just give it so much life to it. I just think she's tremendous. And nothing is stiff. Everything is moving. It's infuriating. She's probably like 10 years younger than I am. Christopher Lloyd, yeah, absolutely. That would have been cool. It would have been a totally different take. You would have been probably a little bit more manic. I also think a younger John Lithgow could do a cool one, like Harry and the Hendersons era, World According to Garp era. She-Hulk, I have not seen the show. I do not have Disney Plus, so I have not seen a single Disney Plus show, and it's very disappointing. I can imagine the expression you have right now. I've just disappointed you in a way, in a very just. It's all I've seen at conventions. They just look so sad when I can't talk about the shows because I don't have Disney Plus. I would like to see it. I'm one of those, and the thing that about it is like I'm one of the old readers, and it was never a popular book. It was never a popular book. So when I saw it was becoming a show, I was like, I don't know if everybody's going to like this, just because it was such a niche comic at the time, and you had this strong, funny uh, lady lead who who was smart and funny and dealt with stuff, and it was oh cool. I heard the lady that plays her is terrific, the actress. um I heard that it retains like the slot era funny, which that's what I would want to see, the Burn slot style with maybe a little bit less of Burns male gaze stuff. um, who was the editor on that book? Michael Golden's agent, Renee Witterstater. She was the editor on the Burn run, and she was also the editor of Marvel's silly book "What the," which I enjoyed a disproportionate amount compared to everyone else when I was a kid. When everybody was hardcore on the Image stuff, I definitely like some of the sillier comics more than most people. And the crazy thing about some of those early issues of What the is like you have Burn, you have Ditko inked by John Severin, you have all kinds of like crazy like early Joe Quesada. You had Jim Lee on that book at a point. You had Lee Weeks doing some of his first Daredevil work. You had I mean, it's just an interesting little experimental book where they were allowed to do all kinds of cool stuff. Yeah, I've heard she's really a fantastic actor. I would definitely be interested in seeing it when I have the opportunity. Maybe they'll have Disney Plus in the hotel I'm staying at. I don't know. But again, I have a John Byrne She-Hulk page that I bought years and years ago when Byrne was not popular, and he wasn't completely, lionized like he has been by his art sales from like Heritage and stuff. Um, I think I paid that. That was an expensive page when I was in high school. I saved up a lot of summer money for that one. I believe that page cost me $75. CGI is distracting. It's got that. What is it? What do they call it? Um, when it's trying to look too human. There's a saying for it. I can't remember. I'm very forgiving of television special effects. I really am, just because I remember like the original Flash show, which had a lot of heart, but man, um, I do think that they've become so like that. That's the term, uncanny valley. Yep. I do think that maybe shows back in the day who knew they couldn't pull off certain shots. PS3. We're talking like early Laura Croft graphics here. Um, I gotta be honest, never had a PS3, but had a PS2 that was stolen in college. Gonna have a nose that's been punched a few times for Jim. Well, I was just saying, like, I think that some of the older shows that knew they couldn't pull off certain effect shots tried to work around it rather than like force it to happen. There was what's the one show that I was looking forward to that I don't have again, don't have Disney Plus? Willow. They're doing a new Willow. I love that movie as a kid. Oh, thanks. Give him some crow's feet. Titania was a cool character back in the original. I think she showed up more in like the Gerber era of writing in the book when young Brian Hitch, when he was doing his more of like an Alan Davis looking cartooning style instead of like his hyper realism that he did in the Ultimates. I actually have scars on my chin um, from my hockey days, and I always think of them as like the puncher's scars because I just put a couple of them on there, and they're very subtle. And if you let your beard grow in a little bit, you can't really see him. But if he's clean shaven, you can see the marks from getting punched in the chin. I liked the actress who plays her in The Good Place. I thought she was really good um, in that show. So, yep, that's her name. Yep. Yeah, I thought she was really funny in that show. Well, I thought, well, maybe I should rephrase it to where like she did an excellent job with her comedic performance of what her writers gave her. Um, I don't know. I haven't decided yet. With these toned ones, sometimes I'll use colored pencil and add just a little bit. At the very least, I'll add white to the highlighted areas. I should add more color to more of them because that tick was pretty popular. Both the original itself and the time lapse video did very well. So I should do more watercolors, is what I'm finding out. People like the watercolors. I always think of Yvonne Craig, of course, when I think of Batgirl. She had like very elven-y type features. I met her a couple of times, and she was very nice. Ah, it's 9:30 already. Wow, we're plowing right along, aren't we? Oh, did you make it to that ball game, Doug? You're amongst baseball fans here, so yeah. I thought the Brewers would be good this year, especially they got some good pitching or pitchers. I'm not sure how they wound out for the year, but I thought they had solid starting pitching. Yeah, I mean, I could try to see what color looks like on this. I did see the other bats suck. Wow, I did see that news guy that hurt himself going down the slide there. I guess he broke a rib in his wrist coming off of Mr. Brewer's slide there. That one over 240. Ugh, that's bad. That's real bad. Yeah, you'd think if you're trading the best closer and you can't hit for beans, you would at least get like some killer like hitting prospects instead of pitching. But hey, my team's not making the playoffs this year either. So Oh, it does. It absolutely does look dangerous if you're not wearing a giant foam suit, especially if you're, someone who has not probably done anything athletic for some time, like the news fellow looked like. Oh, the Mets with their endless spending ability. I think Barbara usually has glasses in the comics. I don't know if I have my phone on me. At least I remember her as Oracle always having glasses. Since we're running out of time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the other faces and get them roughed in. This one I'm looking forward to. Bullock is a guy that's got like the catcher's mitt face. He's got a bigger brow. Very broken nose. Yeah, that's annoying. Oh, they just shoved him down, and he was like, "Oh God, oh God." Now the hardest thing about drawing Harvey Bullock is the hat. Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. We'll have all the baddie headshots on the back. And my buddy Joe would tell me to just do a couple and then sell it as like a jam piece in progress. But I don't know. I just kind of want to fill it in. Already messed up the hat. So down, up, and over. I do think I need a little bit more shadow on Jim's eyes, like in here, probably on the edge of the glasses, like that. Toothpick, as Laszlo would say, makes him look more human. Part of his human disguise, what we do in the shadows. I'm just messed up like boxer's ears. I try to get different eye shapes for everybody a little bit. You know, Barbara and Jim, I want them to look related, but it can be a little, this that little bit of variation. Um, I think they killed off Alfred in the comic book, which, sure, okay. Weird enough, since they have that Alfred TV show too, I think, which, sure. And I'll figure out what to do in between stuff. I mean, maybe instead of color, I can use a little bit of ink wash as like a second tone of like a mid tone, and then I'll use like a white, a solid white. Actually, it's probably be better if I used a blue, like a lighter blue, but Alfred has like a longer face, a little bit longer. Jaw comes down a little further. That's where the hinge would be. That's where his hair would be. And I actually, how long will Alfred be dead though? I don't know. Since I don't pick up the book regularly, so do you read Batman regularly, Jonathan? I don't, but if somebody I like picks, starts drawing it, I'll pick up issues to check it out. The last Bat book I read regularly, like new off the shelf, was Batwoman, the J.H. Williams stuff from a number of years ago. And I read the beginning of Court of Owls. Not at all. No, okay. I mean, my favorite, back issues to pick up as of late, for Batman, they're cheap and they're one and done stories. Are those Brave and the Bold issues? I usually Jim Aparo drawing it. There's a couple issues drawn by Trevor, um, the guy that co-created Black Lightning. Trevor Von Eden drew a few issues. Obviously, Nick Cardy. And the only thing that I don't like about some of the issues, like you're stuck with the Bob Haney scripts, and I'm not a big fan of his writing. Got to get the fancy jacket for Mr. Alfred. And that's the reason you put this here, like with these sharp lines and this dapper look, is to contrast from Jim Gordon, so that he looks more, because he looks, clean and well put together, and he looks more disheveled. It fits. It adds more of a contrast, like between the characters, I think. Which Robin is it? I have no idea. Let's go with Jason Todd, or I don't know which is the other one. No, 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 the other one. No, not that one, the other one. Tim Drake. Maybe it's Tim Drake. I'm probably going to need something to fill some of this negative space, because I don't want to just black it out. Maybe some texture, maybe something. I don't know. I'll think about it. Eyes are too far apart. I probably just should make it Batgirl, right? Bats, that's a good idea. Draw little bats flying out. Good call, Jonathan. You're hired. You're the editor / art director of this sketch cover. And I have to put Joker on it because he's at least as popular as Batman. I had to do a commission at Colorado for Colorado Springs, not at Colorado Springs, of Batman throwing batarangs. Those are hard to do. If I'm being honest, I had a hard time with them because they gotta have the right form, or they just look weird. And I struggled with it. It was hard for me. Maybe you know people who have drawn them a lot think they're easy, but I was trying to really get the geometry. I posted it on my Instagram on like one of those like multi-image posts. I mean, if I'm being honest, I'll always think of Robin as Burt Ward, just because so much of my Batman lexicon from childhood was defined by watching the reruns on Nick at Night with my mom, and I loved him. It was just very fun. And the Super Friends, of course, with Casey Kasem, who was Robin. The good thing about Robin is you can have the collar, and then you can just put the R right there. Everybody will know who it is. And he's got the parted hair. Forehead's too big for a young person. I have to lower that some. That's one of those tricks that you have to learn from like drawing younger people. Their hairline hasn't gone further as far back as mine, so. All right, well, you can see where this thing is going. And I'm gonna do, the villains on the back, and the cape will, that he's holding here will continue on to the back. Probably go right about there. And hey, if I can get the bat signal in there. I don't know. You guys can let me know what you think it's worth. If it were commissioned, it would probably be, 75 for the figure, and then, I would do a bulk rate for all the 35s for the little headshots. Well, thanks so much, Desiree. Thanks for hanging out with me, everybody. I'm going to call it a night, I think. I know it's a little early, but if I start going into the next one, I'm just going to keep going and, I'll run out of gas. I'm already a little tired. I've been to the doctor a couple times. I got some eye drops and I got issue with some abdominal strain. Went for my run today, so a little tired, but thanks for hanging out, and I will finish it out um, over the next several days. And I hope everyone has a lovely evening. And thanks again, and I'll see you next week. Good night.